Shopping for gaming peripherals is usually a tricky thing due to the lack of accurate information on most of them, and controllers are usually the worst to shop for. Most people just purchase first-party controllers to alleviate any complications, but first-party usually comes with a premium. In essence, what I'm trying to say is that most third-party controllers suck, but surprisingly, this one doesn't. The Gamepad 4 S wireless controller by Snakebyte is an amazing product, and quite frankly I'm surprised by how good it is. I've been using this controller for quite a few months, and there's a very important reason why. The reason being that I've had third-party controllers that worked fine for the first few months, then randomly stopped working. For that reason I decided I'd put this one through its paces, and it managed to exceed my expectations. The Gamepad 4 S wireless controller is a PlayStation 4 controller. Its design mimics that of the DualShock 4 and a bit of the Xbox One gamepad. The button placement is similar to that of the DualShock, and the controller shape is Xbox One gamepad-like. The controller does have a few unique variations from the other two, however they didn't seem to add much to the product. One of these is the grip. It's a bit angular, which does make it a bit less comfortable, and that's not all. The buttons are also much more clicky than the other two, and they don't have the symbols like the DualShocks. Instead, they've got the names for the symbols, just colored similarly. So square is just written square, and triangle is written the word triangle. When I first noticed this, along with the clicky feel of the buttons, I wasn't too pleased with the controller. Quite frankly, it seemed cheap, and not in the good way like saving money, but rather in the cheap as in poor quality trash. That being said, I kept using the controller and slowly grew to appreciate it for what it is. So let's go over the specs and then dive into the details. The manufacturer listed as having lag-free low latency wireless, a 3.5mm headphone jack, LED status home button, fully working touchpad, twin analog sticks and trigger buttons for precise control, dual vibrations for enhanced haptic feedback, and a 5-year limited manufacturer warranty. Notice there's no mention for the light bar. That's because there's none on this controller. Not that it matters though, because no one actually uses that as far as I know. I've never actually used mine on my DualShocks, so it's not going to be missed for the most part. The rest of the functionality is there however. From the touchpad to precise triggers, it's all there, and they work as expected. The touchpad is much more than the one of the DualShocks, but it works just as well as that one. Battery life is about the same as that of the DualShock, so you'd get about 7 to 8 hours of playtime on a single charge, with about 2 hours needed to fully charge the thing. If you'd like to receive all that the Buttonsmashers has to offer on YouTube, then make sure to subscribe to all of our channels on here. You'll find that we cover a lot of content including Japanese and Western games, as well as anime, manga and technology. You'll find links for each of the channels in the description, so make sure to subscribe to all of them so that you don't miss anything. The controller can be used during charge, and it's possible to use it on the PC similar to the way in which you would use a DualShock controller. This was one of those nice surprises for me because I do a lot of gaming on the PC, which meant I got to really put this controller through its paces. During extended use, I got accustomed to the feel of the device and really got a good feel for it. Even after more than 4 months of use, the buttons are still as clicky as ever and everything still works. It didn't take long for me to forget that the symbols on the buttons were replaced by words, because no gamer with their trophy score watches their buttons during play. The joystick functions well enough and every button works as you'd expect them to. I particularly like the triggers because there's less travel time than those on the DualShock 4. It's also nice that they're a lot stiffer so that you can be more precise when applying pressure to them. This will come in handy when playing games like Project Cars and Drive Club, where precise trigger input is most important. The share and option buttons are smaller and situated more centrally than the ones on the first party controller, which I also like because there's less travel time for my thumb between the joystick and those buttons. On the DualShock 4 controller, your thumbs are required to travel more than 3 centimeters. That's an astronomical distance if you're playing an online match and want to quickly press the share button to capture a clip. I've also had a few times where I've pressed the touchpad instead while using the DualShock controllers, but the Gamepad 4 S Wireless's design eliminates that issue since the joystick and the option and share buttons are less than a centimeter apart. The controller also has a fully functional home button with an LED under it. The color of the LED can't be changed as far as I'm aware. It's either blue when the battery is fully charged or red when the battery is low. The 3.5mm headphone jack also functions as you'd expect it to. I used it for a stream with my Lucid Song LS30s and they worked perfectly together.
With this stream, I'm gonna be streaming for a little while though, because I'm actually just waiting on Roger to start doing That Beautiful Life. We're gonna record a new episode for the podcast, so I said, hey, you know, might as well kill some time playing some PES, because there's not much I can do within the time frame. Anyway,
it should however be noted that there is no port for connecting a keypad to the controller. As someone who doesn't have a QWERTY keypad, the port isn't missed, but I can see how it can be missed because the QWERTY keypad is a fairly useful accessory. That aside, the rumble feedback is indistinguishable from that of the other controllers I've had the opportunity of using, and that's a good thing. It means that it works just as well as everything else about this controller. There was no issue with the Bluetooth connectivity or any other functions of the device. What Snakebyte have managed to do with this device is meet all the requirements of a PlayStation 4 controller in a neat solid package. Aesthetically, it's an attractive device and comes in multiple colors including pink camo, blue camo, plain black and plain white. Personally, I like the blue camo I received a lot, but I can also see the charm of the pink one. I don't, however, fancy the look of the other two. However, that may just be because I've grown to love the look of mine.
Time to dig it. Prepare yourself. I will consume you. I won't ever lose.
So, with all that I've had to say so far about this device, here's my final verdict. So what do I think about the Gamepad 4S wireless controller by Snakebyte? Well, it's a solid, well-built controller that is perfect for use as a secondary controller. I'd actually purchase more of these for local multiplayer instead of the regular DualShock controllers, because they're cheaper yet don't lose any of the core functionality of the DualShock 4. On average, you'd save between $10 and $20 by picking up one of these instead of a DualShock 4 controller, and what do you lose? Not much. Gimmicks like the light bar and motion controls are not necessary for a controller, so the omission of stuff like that will surely not be missed. The only thing that may be missed is the port for the keypad accessory, but even that isn't commonly used enough to have much influence on a purchase. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave us a like and a comment in the comment section below, and if you'd like to see more content like this from us, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll always know when we put up new content.